The Junkers Ju-87G variant was the anti-tank version of the famous Stuka aircraft. Two 37mm cannons were mounted in underwing gun pods, each loaded with a magazine of armor-piercing ammunition. With these weapons, the Kanonvogel, or the Cannon Bird as it was nicknamed, proved spectacularly successful in the hands of some experienced Stuka pilots. The first flight of the machine took place on the 31st of January 1943. In April, the first production Ju-87G1s were delivered to the frontline units. Experience taught the Stuka pilots to aim for vulnerable parts of the Soviet tanks, such as the engine bays or turret roofs. The exhaust smoke of the Soviet tanks proved a useful aiming point for the Stuka gunners, and a hit against the engine often resulted in a catastrophic explosion. The Soviet practice of loading extra fuel drums on the rear of their tanks made them very vulnerable to Stuka cannon fire. To get a good shot at the T-34s, the Kanonvogel dropped down to 15 meters to give a Stuka pilot a good look at the target. Here, the slow speed of the Stuka aircraft came into its own because it gave the pilot plenty of time to lay his guns on target. These attacks proved devastating to the morale of the Soviet tank columns and the infantry who used to ride into battle on the rear decks of the T-34 tanks. To counter the anti-tank Stuka threat, the Soviets started to move anti-aircraft guns close to their tank columns. In turn, Stuka pilots began to have a pair of bomb and machine gun armed Stukas circling overhead as the cannon birds lined up for their attacks. These supporting Stukas would bomb Soviet anti-aircraft batteries that attempted to open fire. They also provided early warning of the appearance of Soviet fighters that were starting to challenge German air superiority on the Eastern Front. In spite of this covering fire, the Kanonvogel routinely returned to base full with bullet holes. The exploits of Stukas during the Second World War was the inspiration used by the United States Air Force in designing the A-10 Warthog tank-busting aircraft at the height of the Cold War, when there was a requirement to counter mass divisions of Soviet tanks in Central Europe. This aircraft was built around a multi-barreled cannon specifically to counter Soviet tanks.